G'day folks, Wren here, and it is time for January's haul video. This is only half of them. I have never really been someone that does hauls. I think I have 2 on my channel, but I buy so many books. so many books, it's kind of scary. I recently put on my Instagram a poll asking people if they wanted to see me do some hauls, because if they do, I will. And lots of people said yes, so we're here to do a haul. Let's go into all of those. I bought a bunch when I was in England, and then when I came home I was like, I haven't been to my favourite op shop in a month, let's go see what's there. And some damage was done. But let's get into all of the books I bought in January. So first up is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This was one I got in England. I really love Talia Hibbert. She's one of my favourite authors. I love the Brown Sisters trilogy. I actually have a tattoo of the second book on my arm there, and I have always wanted to read more of her stuff. I tried The Princess Trap, but I just had the audio for that and that was disgustingly awful. So I have a physical of this one and I'm really looking forward to reading it. This is her kind of first foray into YA romance, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And it is about these 2 ex-best friends that are kind of forced to work together in this wilderness survival trip, and feelings happen. I don't know, I'm very much looking forward to it. It should be a very cute time. Then next up is The Dark Between the Trees by Fiona Barnett. This was again one that I got in England. I saw this cover and I was like, hello, because it has the right vibes, and the vibes that I enjoy. Those vibes being creepy forest. I love a creepy forest, and this is very much that. In 1643, a group of men went into the woods and they went missing, and only 2 of them ever returned. Then in current day, we have these, I think it was 5 women that are going into the woods to kind of find out what happened to these men, and things start happening. I don't know, but you give me creepy forests, I want to read it. Then the one and only book I bought in Waterstones was The Green Man of Eschwood Hall by Jacob Kerr. Again, the cover. Isn't that stunning? This was bought because one of my buzzwords is Green Man, but because of that buzzword I very much wanted to pick this up. But then what this is about is again a creepy forest. I love. And it is about this young girl that lives in this house in the middle of the woods or something, and she's very, very lonely. Green Man in the forest. It is creepy, potentially magical, and the cover. It was a great time. Next up, we went to a independent bookstore called Lighthouse, and it was queer and feminist and radical and all those lovely things. And in there I picked up All the Violent Tiaras, Queering the Greek Myths by Jean Menzies. This has been on my most anticipated of the year list, because I just want to read everything that Jean brings out because I adore her, she's lovely. And this is a little book of essays about queer Greek myths, kind of. I don't know, honestly you could just say Jean wrote it and I'll be like, yes, I'll buy it. But it very much felt fitting to buy a queer Scottish author in a queer Scottish bookstore, you know? Then we went to Type Wronger bookstore. It was a very, very cute little store, and in there I wanted to buy some poetry. So I bought Modda D by Roseanne Watt. This is a poetry collection by a Scottish author. Yeah, so Roseanne Watt's debut collection is a poetry of undercurrents, preoccupied with the question of what it means to return somewhere, to memory, to place, to a state of being. That sounds lovely, and this also features some poems written in Scots, which is very, very cool. Yep, there is a glossary at the back for some Scots terms, which is very cool. Scots poetry, very much what I wanted to read. And then the other poetry collection I bought in Type Wronger was Greekling by Kostya Solakis. This is a queer poetry collection. The author kind of talks about his queerness in relation to the Greek statues, and then how that just kind of all relates. I'm not describing it well, but you put antiquity and queer together, I just want to buy it. You don't have to tell me anything else. So I bought it. Then another book at the works, this was the one that was £1, and that is Glitterland by Alexis Hall. This is the first in the Spires series. This is a re-release, so this book was originally published several years ago, but it has recently been re-released with a new cover. Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall is one of my favourite books of all time, so I do want to read more of his work, and this one seems to be getting some good hype. Do I know what it's about? Absolutely not. So we have a depressed writer, some other guy that's very full of life, and it's just a love story. It's just a contemporary romance, looks like a good time, opposites attract, love that. Then in toppings, I also got Slow Seasons, a creative guide to reconnecting with nature the Celtic way by Rosie Steer. This is a stunning book, like not just that cover, but also some of the title pages. Like, it's beautifully amazing. So this goes through all of the Celtic seasons of the year, and then it gives you like descriptions on what those times of the year mean, and it gives you recipes of things you can make, or something you can create or make, or art. It also goes through some rituals you can do, and it really is, like it says, just about connecting back with nature, which is something I would really love to do in 2024. So I am looking forward to picking this up. So when I returned home, I had a parcel from Book Addiction, which will be the very final, sadly, queer subscription box that they were doing. I really loved this subscription box. It was really great. Unfortunately, they've now stopped it. 2 books came in that box. The first one was Somewhere in the Grey Area by Jeffrey K. Davenport. This is a indie published book, which is awesome. I love that they did that. Okay, so there's this guy that is great at everything, and then something goes wrong. He's caught in the middle of a vicious crime and a police cover-up that takes the lives of his high-profile boss and the rest of the program's interns. Ooh. His saving grace is an unlikely team of operatives that pluck him from the scene and explain that there are dangerous secrets being kept from him that will change his life forever. Okay, so it seems kind of like a bodyguard-ish romance. It is queer, obviously. It was a queer subscription box. A guy that's being hunted and the guy trying to save him from the people hunting him. Then the second book in that subscription box was The Rule of Three by Sophie Snow. But this is a polyamorous relationship. Also, it came with a bookmark of the cover art and a sticker of the cover art as well, which is so cute. I love me a sticker. So our female main character, she is leaving behind her life after a really messy breakup. She moves somewhere else, and she goes out one night, has a one-night stand with this guy, only to find out he's her neighbour. Fun times. And this guy lives with his best friend. And these 2 guys have been kind of avoiding the fact that they have feelings for each other until she shows up and she's like the missing piece. And so then a throuple happens. That sounds fun. I think this is also an indie? Yeah, I think this is an indie book, which is awesome. Love that. It also feels very nice. Then when I went to my local library, all the libraries in my area, they do a little section of books that they're selling, like from their library selection, and they're all 50 cents each, which is lovely. So I got 3 books from there. First up is The Gurkha and the Lord of Tuesday by Syed Zed Hossein. Awful pronunciation, I'm very sorry. Honestly, the thing that made me want to read this was that it's about a djinn, and I love djinn so much. So a djinn king wakes up after a millennia of being trapped. Yeah, he's ready to take over the world, give people all of these things they want and create chaos. But when he comes down to Earth, he realizes that everyone's pretty happy and content. Everyone is happy except an old soldier. So I think they have to figure out something. Honestly, I don't know, and I need to speed this up. So I have this, I'm looking forward to it. It's also nice and short. Then I picked up Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. This is a book I've wanted to read for a long time, and now I get to. So this is a middle grade, and it is about police violence against the black community. Awful, absolutely awful thing. And this is going to hit really, really hard. It's going to be an emotional read, but I'm very much looking forward to it. And what I think happens is one boy is killed by a police officer, and then he becomes a ghost, and he sees all of the other young black boys that have been killed, and then something happens there. So I think this is going to be a really devastating read, but I am very much looking forward to reading it. Then the last one I got from the library was Creature by Hunter Shea. This is a horror novel, so love that. It also looks a little bit indie, but it was monsters. So this is about these people living in this house in the woods. I have a type. And there are creatures in the woods. This woman who lives there, she has chronic pain and an autoimmune disease, which I'm very excited for because I have both of those things. I don't know which autoimmune disease she has. But then she is the one that's kind of consumed with these creatures and kind of like the paranoia of always being watched. And then she starts to believe that the things from the woods have got inside the house. Sounds like a very fun time. First up, another one I got in England from The Works is The Problem with Perfect by Philip William Stover. This was potentially an oopsie buy because I only bought it because it was queer and I'd never heard of it before. Not because I was genuinely interested in it. Now that I've read the synopsis a bit more and really figured out what it's about, I don't think this is for me. But I may potentially give it a go. So this queer celebrity goes missing before the last episode, goes missing before a live show of an event or his TV show, something like that. And his manager is like, oh my god, no, what do we do? So the manager asks that guy's twin brother to fill in for him and do the show. Oh, then that show goes for a week. So they are stuck together for a week. Forced proximity. Feelings happen, I'm sure. I really hope they do figure out why this brother went missing. And they're not just like, oh, he's gone, let's do things. Yeah, hopefully this isn't as potentially cringy as it sounds. Then again, from The Works, I got Witches, James I and the English Witch Hunts by Tracy Borman. But yeah, if it's about the witch hunts, I kind of want to read it, and that's really all it is. So it is about the witch hunts in England from the 15th to the 18th centuries, but more specifically in Belvoir Castle in 1613, and conspiracies, which I mean a lot of the witch hunts kind of were, so there's that. So then at The Works they were having their January New Year sales, so that's why a lot of those books were bought, but also why these next 3 were bought, because I bought 3 books in a series. Yep, so the first one is Only When It's Us, book 2 is Always Only You, and book 3 is Ever After Always, all by Chloe Leese. So I bought all 3 of them because they were all really good prices. I don't even know if I'm gonna like these. I've just heard some really good things about these romances. Less so good things about this first one, but I know this one, the second one, has some kind of disability rep or chronic pain rep, but one of the characters' name is Wren, which is always a little weird for me. And then in this one we have plus size rep, as well as these two are already an established marriage, and then I think they have to fall back in love with each other, which is interesting. I don't know what these are about. They're just a contemporary romance series that's getting a lot of buzz, so I bought all 3 of them. So when we were in Scotland in Lighthouse books, we got given a free sample of a book that is coming out. So this is chapters 1 and 2 of Song of the Wild Knight, or part 1, Song of the Squire, by L.J. Amber. This was described as a queer erotic fantasy, so I'll give it a go. But anyways, I will give this a go. I really can't tell you what it's about because it's just the first 2 chapters. Then when we went to the Museum of Scotland, we picked up Supernatural Scotland by Aileen Dunlop. This is just a really quick little, almost like information booklet on all of the supernatural things that have happened in history in Scotland. But I'm going to enjoy it because I love all things supernatural, so gonna read this. And because this is counted on Storygraph, I'm gonna count it here. The Edinburgh Castle Souvenir Guide. So we have this lovely little map of the castle, which Kirsty and I went to. It was lovely. And then there's a whole bunch of information. Like, there's a lot of words here, just on like the history of the castle, which is very, very cool. And you know, Storygraph counts it, so will I. Then we had a tour of some of the underground vaults in Edinburgh, and we got a booklet for there, and Storygraph counts it, so I'm gonna count it. And that is Descend and Discover, the story of the Blair Street underground vaults. I don't think there's an official author, but yeah, so we went into several of these kind of little vaults, very interesting, and this booklet just kind of goes through in more detail what the tour guide told us about, which is good because I couldn't always retain everything the tour guide was saying, so there's this. Then on our way home from Scotland, we stopped by the Celtic Goldsmith or something. It was just this little store on like the side of the road, and it was absolutely amazing. It was this jeweler who would make all of these amazing pieces of jewelry. He also had this Borderlands museum in the back as well, which was very, very cool. And then he actually had some books available, and one of them was his very own poetry collection, so Kirsty and I both got one. And that is Soliloquy of the Moon, Poems by Kenneth Eric Moffat. I'm very intrigued to read this, more so because I found out from reading the bio that the poet and the jeweler, who is the same person, he is a druid, which is lovely because that is the kind of spirituality that I follow, so I think that was very lovely. And he was just a lovely man in general and very, very talented, so I'm looking forward to reading his poetry collection, which is very short, so you know, that's always good. And there's some interesting little artwork pieces in here too. Alright, then we have this huge bag. So the first two are kind of random, but that's fine. This is In and Out of the Garden by Sarah Midder. It just is so sweet. Like, look at that. And it's just full of just like images of gardens, and like, I don't even know. It's honestly just so soft and sweet. What even is this? I don't know. It's just pictures of gardens, and it's lovely. Then the next one is A Floral ABC by Elizabeth Cameron. Again, very random, but this is just absolutely stunning. So it goes through the alphabet and then it gives you a plant or a flower from that letter. And the art is just stunning. Like, I don't even care what some of them say. They look so pretty. So that's that. Random ass books that they are. So then I picked up The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory, and I had recently picked up The Proposal by the same author, and I think these are part of the same series, but I think this is the first one, maybe, and I think this is like the third, but I didn't particularly want the other one in the series that I saw there, but I did want this one because this has to do with fake dating, and that's my thing. Yep, so this guy is going to his ex's wedding, which I don't understand why people invite their exes to weddings. It's weird, but whatever. And he doesn't have a date. So when he gets stuck in an elevator with this woman, he's like, hey, wanna go to the wedding with me? And she says yes. Questionable, but okay. Then they spend the weekend together for this wedding, and then they go their separate ways, but they can't stop thinking about each other, and then potential long-distance relationship starts happening. Don't know. I'm gonna give it a go and see what I think. Then we have Love and Other Puzzles by Kimberly Alsop. So this is about a woman in her 30s, I believe, and she is just like annoyed with the world because she's doing everything right. You know, she walks the amount of steps she's supposed to walk, she eats the right things, she says the right things, and still she doesn't feel great. And I think it's just an exploration of life. And, you know, figuring out what you can do to make yourself happy and not fit into society's views of happiness. Maybe, I don't know. I just bought it. And next up is Ghosts by Raina Telgemeier. This is a middle grade comic or graphic novel, and it's about ghosts. It's about this young girl who is moving to a new town with her family, and something is different about this town. And her little sister has cystic fibrosis, so she's very worried about that. And it turns out that there are ghosts there. The younger sister, she wants to see a ghost, but the older sister is terrified of them. So I think it's very much about just these two siblings being siblings in the nicest way possible, and ghosts. Next up, we have Wendy Darling by Colleen Oakes. It's a Peter Pan retelling. I'm a sucker for Peter Pan retellings. They're my everything. I love them so much. I think in this one, yes, Wendy goes to Neverland, and I think she's very much taken with Peter as the story goes. But I think she starts to have a little bit of, things aren't always what they seem, because I think Peter is a little bit more on the dark side, which I love that. Ooh. She begins to suspect that this island of dreams and the boy who desires her have the potential to transform into an everlasting nightmare. That does sound good. But it was Peter Pan, so I bought it. Next up, one I'm actually very excited for because I do really want to read this, and that is Slayer by Kirsten White. It's about, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, basically. How could I not want to read it? I'm a millennial. I grew up with Buffy. Buffy's the best. Faith, though. Yeah, Faith. Okay, so it's about these two twins that are born into the Watcher Academy, so the Watchers, very cool. Ooh, a boarding school where teens are trained as guides for slayers. Yes, very cool. So one of the twins, she gets chosen to be the next slayer, but she's also going to be the last slayer. There will be no more slayers after her, which is an interesting thing. And yeah, it's just about her figuring out being a slayer and having her watcher help her and fighting all of the vampires and the darkness in the world. It's about Buffy. How could you not? The next two books I bought were part of a series that I haven't read, and neither of these are the first in the series. So I've got The Silvered Serpents and The Bronzed Beasts by Roshani Chokshi. The first one in the series is The Gilded Wolves, which I know I really want to read, but they had the sequels at the op shops, so I bought them. But from what I know about it, it's a heist novel, so that sounds interesting. Am I an idiot for buying them? Maybe, but what if I love the series? Then we have the very final book I bought in January, which, thank all the gods because this has been long, but that is Terra Australis by L.F. Bolly and Felipe Nicolo. This is a very large graphic novel, and it basically goes through the colonization of Australia, maybe? Yeah, so it is about the journey to Australia when the colonizers took that big old journey. I hope it's not gonna be super awful in regards to the racism, but if they are sticking true to form and like true to history, it will be, which I'm only just kind of realizing. Why did I buy this? The archaeologist in me probably is what bought this, because history, maybe it'll be interesting. Anyways, I bought this. It's long. I maybe shouldn't have, but I did. That was it. Alright, let's count. How many did I do? Okay, so that's 32 books. I was gonna say, oh, that's not too bad. No, 32 books is bad. 32 books is a lot of books. I bought a lot of books. Yikes. So I would love it if you could leave me a comment down below telling me the top 3 books that you think I should read out of this whole stack, because I'm gonna need help. Let's hope that by doing these haul videos, I will be able to keep myself a little bit more accountable. And here's hoping I don't buy so many books in February. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!